Hey everybody, Evan Freiberger here with another weather forecast for you, and we're going to be talking about the severe weather that's going to be coming in the next couple of days, mainly for Tuesday and Wednesday. Got a chance for tornadoes, I think, with some of these storms. Also, some severe weather like damaging winds and hail as well are all going to be possible with this next storm, as well as a little bit of snow on the backside could also be possible. So we're going to go over all of that and more in this forecast. So before we get started, if you could hit that like and subscribe button if you do end up enjoying this video. But okay, let's go get into it. All right, looking at the United States here, just kind of going over the future radar here and what we can expect over the next couple of days. Really starting off pretty early here, at the beginning of the models, you can see that we do have a chance for some snow up there in the Pacific Northwest with some rain. It's going to make it down, Washington, Oregon, going down into California. Then those areas of snow start to move into some of the mountainous regions there of Nebraska, going into Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, Colorado, Wyoming, and then maybe some snow up there for North Dakota going into Minnesota as well. Then we get a little strip here of snow, so it's going to bring some possible snowflakes over there in Nebraska, going into Kansas as well, maybe dipping just a little bit down there in the panhandle of Oklahoma. But again, we're really not expecting too much accumulation out of these storms, according to with the snow is what we're talking about, not rain. But yeah, a little bit of snow chances there for the western United States. And then right around this time is when we're going to start to see some storms potentially fire over here near Missouri going into Illinois. We're going to be breaking down that with a little bit more detail here in just a little bit. But yeah, that's going to start to move off to the east, potentially cause some severe weather in Tuesday going into Wednesday morning, bringing a line of thunderstorms down to the south and east, kind of into the Tennessee Valley there, where we're still expecting some, maybe like a small tornado threat associated with this line. Maybe a couple of spin-ups are going to be possible, maybe, a small chance for tornadoes, but we're really not talking about anything too serious, I think, for Wednesday. I really think Tuesday is going to be the main day out of this. And but yeah, looking at the snow though on the backside, look at this, a nice little band of snow is going to be working its way into the Ohio Valley and then moving off to the east to the northeast. So we're going to be covering all of that in today's forecast. So let's go ahead and get into it. First, looking at the upper level shear, this is important for understanding whether or not these storms are going to have any spin to it, because storm spin could cause tornadoes. And yeah, in the upper levels on all three models here, on the Euro and the NAM and the GFS here, you can see we do have agreement here that there is going to be some decent winds up in the upper levels, and then closer to the ground here also still got some decent winds closer to the ground as well in the GFS and the NAM here. So both of these aspects are going to be working together to create some of that spin in the atmosphere. So there is going to be spin, but in order to have storms fire and mature enough in order to have tornadoes, you also got to have the moisture, the fuel. So let's go look at that. This is the GFS here, and as you can see, we do have an area here of instability, but as you can see, it's faded. Look at the color over here. You see how bright this color is? Then over here, it seems kind of muted. That's because this is not only the fuel for the storms, but it's also what we call a cap, which is essentially like a bottle cap that keeps a cap on top of the storm, prevents them from growing and maturing into a stronger storm. And we're still seeing that on the models, and this could be, a significant factor in whether or not we are going to see like tornadoes or, big time severe weather out of this event. If this cap stays in place, we might not really even see much. So I really do think this is going to be a boom or bust type scenario. But pushing this forward, you can see there's a brief period here where the Cape does get into that, the more favorable fuel for the storm, while also not being capped. But that only lasts for about 3 hours, and then boom, it's gone on the GFS and doesn't really reappear until that cap continues to break as it comes down in the south and east. But man, we're really not talking a whole lot of instability for these storms. So really, I'm still thinking, you can still have damaging winds out of storms, even without a whole lot of moisture. So there's still definitely a possible for some thunderstorms, and some of them could be severe. But I really don't think Wednesday is going to be the main day. If that cap breaks up here, that's going to be the main problem, I think, on Tuesday, and Wednesday is going to be a little bit less of a severe event. But looking over here at the NAM, you can see that, it also kind of has the same thing. Nothing really breaks. No cap really breaks. Still got those muted colors out there. So still not a whole lot of fuel for the storms, but, it has a little bit better instability as this line works, down into, Missouri, Arkansas, parts of Illinois, then pushing into Indiana eventually. But we're not fully in the range here with this mid-range model. It's a little bit higher resolution, but kind of showing the same picture, potentially a capped environment on Tuesday. If that cap breaks, we're going to have some problems. If not, we're not going to be really talking about too much, I don't think, on Tuesday or Wednesday. So still a lot of uncertainty. Got to watch watch the models as we get closer and get into the shorter range, higher resolution models that'll give us a little bit better of a depiction of what it's really going to look like as we get into it. This is the Euros look at the instability, and you can see we have a decent amount up there again, but unfortunately, I don't have any way of looking at the cap on the Euro. We can just kind of look at the fuel for these storms, and they're sitting around in some pockets here up close to 1,000 joules per kilogram. So definitely some severe weather could be possible. When you get a mature storm, you could definitely get a tornado threat out of that. And then this right here, this is the estimated lightning that we could have with these storms. So it kind of gives us, kind of an early preview of what and where some of these storms are going to be. And you can see that, potentially starting here at around, kind of mid-afternoon here, around 3 p.m. on Tuesday. You can see some storms fire there near St. Louis, starts to move into Illinois, and then you see a bigger area of storms fire there into Indiana, and then, moving into around 6 p.m., we have even more storms firing over there near Illinois. And then as we get into like the later night portions of Tuesday, you can see that, the chances for severe weather are going to be a little bit more widespread, large area here of some lightning pushing up into Wisconsin a little bit, also into Michigan as well. As we push this into Wednesday morning, still have those storms ongoing, still could be potentially severe if the cap breaks. Maybe we could still have a tornado threat at this moment. And then you can see this kind of congeals into a line of storms as that moves down to the south and east. But look how, compare, back here, you see how much lightning is being indicated by this. And then as we get into Wednesday, these storms really don't have too much lightning. They can still, you can still have damaging winds without too much lightning. And still have severe weather, but it does kind of give you a little indication here of the differences of severity that we could be dealing with here in between Tuesday and then going into Wednesday as that line of storms kind of pushes off to the east. Maybe, a little recovery of some instability right before we go into North Carolina. Still a little bit far out, but, we'll keep an eye on that. Some lightning bolts, general thunderstorms, maybe a little bit of severe weather could be possible there as well. All right, now moving into the SPC here, you can see we do have a slight risk out here. That's going to be it's going to be for parts of Missouri going into Illinois, parts of Wisconsin now, also over there near Indiana and Michigan, kind of shaved off the top of that a little bit, which I think is, I agree with that. And they've also shaved off some of the bottom portion of here, which I do agree with that as well. There's not as much confidence on what's going to happen down here for Arkansas, but still, a potential there for severe weather tomorrow. We will be able to look at all the probabilities, but I do believe all hazards could be possible if we can get that cap to break. If the cap doesn't break again, we're just not going to see a whole lot of organized severe weather. Maybe a couple spurts here and there, as it could potentially break for a couple like 30-40 minutes, give a storm just enough time to mature. Then we could maybe get a couple tornado warnings out of that if that does end up happening. But it could also totally be a day where we have kind of those weaker storms throughout the day, not a whole lot of severe thunderstorm warnings, and it's kind of a calm but still semi-dangerous day. So definitely worth watching regardless of what ends up happening. But yeah, those are kind of my thoughts on the severe weather. Now moving over, talking about the snow a little bit more here. You have that move through the northern plains going into the Great Lakes, and you can really see here, as we get into like midday Wednesday here at around 12 p.m., starting to see that little bit of snow start to form on the backside of this heavier rain as that pushes to the east. And it's not the weakest little band of snow, but it's moving so fast that it's really not going to have a lot of time to drop down too much accumulation as that moves off to the east throughout Wednesday, going into Thursday morning, then exiting out of the country here at about around like 9 a.m. on Thursday. The Euro's pretty similar here, maybe with a little bit more mixed precip there for like northern Michigan, maybe a little bit more snow for northern Michigan as well. And then it transitions a little bit later. You can see it doesn't really bring too much snowflakes over there to the Ohio Valley, but really starts to pick up as it moves into the northeast. So still a lot of disagreement. We're pretty far out here on the snow. So take all this with a grain of salt. A lot of this data is going to change as we get closer. And as you can see, looking at the GFS or the GEFS, which is just again an average of all the models kind of smushed into an average. You can see that there is some snow that could be possible. Maybe a couple areas picking up 1 to 2 inches, but when you go to the Euro, it's like a dusting. Maybe be happy if you get a snowflake. So still a lot of disagreement, but there is chance for a little bit of snow. But yeah, that's gonna be it for me. Thank you guys for watching. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys on the next video. See ya.